Don Grantham, thank you for taking time to be with me today.
Thank you, Brad, and I look forward to it. This is a very important topic, and I think one that you and I have spoken about on numerous occasions.
It's true, and so I want to just explain what the TSPLOST is to the viewers and then get you to help me out with it. It's the Transportation Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax. It's 1 penny added to your sales tax when you buy stuff, and we're looking to, in this upcoming election, extend it for another 2 years. Don, is it fair to say that this tax makes our roads nicer and builds us new ones?
Yes, very much so, Brad. And this is a 10-year program, which we're into the first phase of the first sales tax that we passed back in 2012. And with that, we have accomplished a lot of projects throughout the CSRA region. But my main interest certainly is within Richmond County and Columbia County. The roads here that we have completed and done are so important that it has enabled, I think, our community, our state, our governor, and everyone else to attract businesses and particularly the cyber movement that has come to Augusta. I shudder to think where we would be had we not had this sales tax.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about some of the roads that stand out to you and that some of the viewers will recognize in just a moment. But first, let's talk about the business side of it. You know, we see this tax generating hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and that money goes to the projects for sure. But once you have those projects completed and those better roads in place, tell us about how that helps bring businesses here. Do they care about what our roads look and feel like?
Yes, Brad, I feel like they do. And I've traveled throughout not only the state of Georgia, but throughout the southeast, this country, as well as others. And our roads are recognized as one of the best in the United States within our region and within our state. In addition to that, we have so many good contractors in the area that we have provided with what is recognized as the best roads and best transportation infrastructure in the U.S.
When you're looking at the projects that the sales tax money is going to pay for, are these projects largely predetermined, or if we vote in favor of this pass and it's in favor of this tax and it passes, could the public have any say-so in projects that they want to see get done, or has that ship sailed?
Well, no, that is not sailed, and that's an interesting question because within the monies that are collected, we have what is called a discretionary fund. And the discretionary fund is 25% of the total collected monies within the tax period of time. And that money is distributed to the various counties and areas that has passed their tax. With that being said, it gives them an opportunity to not only use those funds for matching dollars, but for dollars that they can improve sidewalks, as long as the money is used for an infrastructure purpose.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the projects that the first round or the current round of the TSPLOST is paid for in our area. What are some parts around town, some places around town that viewers would be familiar with that you've seen improvements?
Well, I think some of the most important areas that I've seen, Brad, is the areas that we had 33 projects in Band 1, and those have all been completed to the tune of about $75 million. And in that area, we have seen Berkman Road be improved and finished up to the point where it is right now at Rays Creek. We have seen Riverwatch Parkway extended into the Columbia County area. We have seen numerous projects done. We have seen Highway 78 leading out to the new Cyber Gate, Gate 6 at Fort Gordon, which I think is vitally important to what we have accomplished throughout this region.
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier, cyber is really taking over this area, and I would imagine that those folks, when they come down here, would like for their commute to be a smooth one.
Yes, very, very definitely. And I think that gives us the opportunity to say, not only do we look out for the people that are coming into this region, but we look out for their transportation means and to get them better coverage as far as conditions are concerned.
Can you look into your crystal ball? Maybe it's too early, and take a look at some of the projects that might be coming down the road, not only under the current phase of TSPLOST, but if this new one is approved?
Yes, we do, Brad, and I think that's a very good question and one that's important. What we're looking at right now is some of the major roads would be Willis Foreman Road, Tobacco Road, Skinner Mill Road, Milledgeville Road, Barton Chapel Road, and the 13th Street Bridge. The 13th Street Bridge is going to be extremely important because it will become an iconic situation that leads not only from Augusta, Georgia, into North Augusta, South Carolina, but will give an attraction that we do not have along our riverway and waterways.
You know, when I hear you mention those projects, both the existing ones and the future ones, it sounds like you're hitting all parts of town. Is that intentional? Do you all want to make sure that all parts of Augusta see these improvements? Yes,
we do, and that's something that we have relied upon, that everyone gets treated fairly, and the commissioners as well as transportation people, along with myself and some of the state representatives, have gone and presented these projects as to what has been listed now by our engineering departments of these various areas. And what they do is now they will select those projects. Those projects will be approved at an overall general meeting. And then once the tax is collected, those projects must be worked on. They must be completed within the time of the tax collection.
You know, I misspoke earlier. I said projects around Augusta. It's really projects around a 13-county area that you serve. Don, when you're at those board meetings with other DOT board members, do you feel like they listen to your voice and the voice of this 13-county area? Or is it difficult sometimes to say, look, you've got to direct some of this money and some of these projects to my part of the Peach State? I know so many times we see Atlanta in the spotlight so many times.
Well, and that too is a good question. Once the Transportation Investment Act was passed in 2010 to be voted on in 2012, the legislature indicated that those regions would maintain their own dollars and that they would be using those dollars with no separations to any other areas and or to any government entities other than through the people who voted for it and to the areas that they represent.
How long does it take from the time you want to put a road somewhere or from the time you want to make an existing road better until the project is totally finished?
That varies certainly on the distance. Right now, the average cost of a mile both ways on a highway is costing in excess of $1 million. And so we're looking at anywhere from a 10 to 12 month period of time to a 2.5-year period of time. Mm-hmm. And that certainly depends on the size and the scope of that project, because you have to do so many things. You're working with the utility companies. All of them being included has to either be moved or regulated or needs to be relocated in a way that is not interfering with the construction once that starts.
How much attention are y'all paying these days to places for bicyclists and pedestrians when you put in new roads or when you fix current roads?
Another good question. We're being requested by numerous areas to put in the bicycle pathways as well as walkways. And I think once you see 13th Street and the concept that will be had there, there'll be a bicycle trail, and there will be a walk path across that bridge that will lead into the North Augusta, into the baseball stadium area, as well as up and down Riverwatch, and not only Riverwatch, but Riverwalk. And all of that will be tied in very nicely. But bicycling has become a most important feature of our area. And a lot of people are utilizing the bicycles and the bicycle trails that have been provided.
Why is traffic still so bad in Columbia County? Is that a DOT thing or is that a Columbia County thing?
Well, I'm not going to blame it on either one, Brad. I'm trying to put it in a posture to where I think there were they were a little late in getting started out there with a lot of projects, and Columbia County all of a sudden exploded into a business and bedroom community. With that being said, we just needed to catch up and do the type of work that needed to be done from a state DOT standpoint and the local community standpoint.
You know, we're trying to come out of this pandemic right now, Don, and times are tight. Is it tough to sell a tax to voters? I know it's just a penny sales tax for all these projects you've been talking about. Is it a tough sell sometimes when people are trying to hold on to their money?
Well, to some degree, it will be. But I think if you look back over your shoulder and see what's been accomplished and how that money has been spent, and it's been directed into the needs and the uses of what the people have chosen, then it's not that difficult. And so, and also to realize that 25% of those dollars are coming back to the local communities for discretionary use for sidewalks, bicycle trails, beautification, things that would be involved with the infrastructure. So to me, I think we have become the star of the state of Georgia. There are many other regions that are willing and wanting to pass this tax now, and they're putting it on their voting applications right now.
You know, Don, I know South Carolina is not your area, but I have noticed, as I'm sure any motorist has noticed, that when you leave Georgia and drive into South Carolina on Interstate 20, the roads change for the worse. The road, that stretch of I-20 going into the Palmetto State, is not as good as the part in Richmond County and headed throughout the state of Georgia. Is that because they don't have a TSPLOST or not as much attention is paid to roads there?
Well, that's one of the reasons, and they've not given the attention that has been needed to their road repairs. Another is their state fuel tax. Here about 8 to 10 years ago, Georgia raised its fuel tax, and that's where we get a lot of our state money that goes into our roads and our maintenance programs and everything else. So South Carolina is finally catching on, and they're going to make a pretty good change here within the next 5 years, I believe. Glad you mentioned that, because the I-20 bridge is going to be one of the most important projects that we're going to have here coming. It's already started. The inconvenience is going to be somewhat annoying, but I hope that the people will understand that it's a much needed project, and it's an $82 million project that will be going into South Carolina, which they're paying their portion of it, as well as it will go and extend to the first exit into South Carolina.
Don, I want to make sure I'm correct before we say goodbye to each other. They've moved this around so many times. June 9th is when we cast these ballots, right? June 9th.
Yes, that is the voting date, and certainly absentee ballots have been mailed out. I'm proud to say that I've sent mine back in, and I voted an absolute yes for this particular program and for the TIA program, and I hope that everyone else will. And I hope you'll keep pushing the button to keep the reminder in front of everyone. If you can't get to the polls and stay distance, then I hope that you'll send your absentee ballot in, and please vote in favor of this project, because it is important, not only to the present day people that are traveling, but for the future children and the people of this state.
Don Grantham, Georgia's Department of Transportation board member and longtime community leader in Augusta. Thanks for explaining the TSPLOST to us, and thanks for all you do for these parts. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Brad.